UFC 321 takes place in a couple hours. At the time I'm recording this, 8 hours. And I'm going to be going over every fight on the card, who I think is going to win. If you want to hear my take on a particular fight, timestamps in the description. But anyway, let's start off with the card from the early prelims. Jaqueline Amorim versus Mizuki Inoue, or just Mizuki now. I'm going to go with Jaqueline Amorim to win this fight. I think she's been making improvements in her games, and she's on a bit of a winning streak, if I'm not mistaken. And with Mizuki, in the past 3 years, there's been nothing. She hasn't fought in that amount of time, so I'm going to go with the improvement and the consistency of Amorim. I'm going to say she gets this one done by submission in rounds 1 or 2. Azat Maksum versus Mitch Roposo. I'm going to go with Azat Maksum to win this fight by decision. He looked pretty good in his fight with Rebecki. Defended all the takedowns. He lost the fight, but there's an argument for him to win that. And Mitch Roposo, he's taken a couple of losses in the UFC lately over Sumadarji. That was his last fight. And before that, it was Andre Lima. And he's mainly a wrestler, but against Azat Maksum, who is defending all of Rebecki's takedowns, that's a green flag for me. So I'm going to go with Azat Maksum to defend the takedowns of Mitch Roposo and be tricky on the outside. Hamdy Abdelwahab versus Chris Barnett. You see, I don't think Hamdy's the best heavyweight. He lost to Muhammad Usman in his last fight. It wasn't really the best look. But, Chris Barnett, I don't think I'm going to trust him to win a fight because he's gotten a little older, coming off some injuries. And I just think Hamdy Abdelwahab, he's going to be able to get his takedowns, but maybe Chris Barnett could throw something like a spinning hook kick that he caught John Vellante with. But, he does have that Taekwondo background, and he is pretty flexible. But with the injuries, I'm not sure if I'm going to pick him to win this fight. So I'm going to go with Hamdy to win this fight by decision with some grappling. Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Miguel Delgado. I'm going to go with Jose Delgado to win this fight over Nathaniel Wood. Over an opponent who's fought 2 times in the UFC, I don't really pick them to beat Nathaniel Wood, who is really good. But the high and tight guard of Wood against the knees of Delgado or something up the middle, I believe that Delgado could probably use his reach and blind him maybe with a jab or a straight right hand, or maybe that flurry against Hyder Emil, and I feel like he can catch him with something up the middle. And plus, I don't really see Delgado getting finished here because Wood doesn't really get finishes. He can hurt opponents and drop them, but he doesn't get too many TKO wins. More often than not, he drags the fight to a decision. With Delgado, I see that as more opportunities for him to finish the fight, so I'm going to go with Delgado to win this fight by TKO in round 1 or 2. Valter Walker versus Louie Sutherland. So this fight was put together on relatively short notice, about 2 weeks or something like that, and Louie Sutherland, this is his UFC debut. He was supposed to fight Justin Tafa on the Perth card, but that fight didn't happen, and now Justin Tafa got cut by the UFC. And Valter Walker, he got called on to put on this fight, and I'm going to go with Valter Walker to win this fight by submission. Probably by his heel hook that he's been getting. It's been 3 times in a row he's gotten it. It was Dante Mays, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Junior Tafa was the first one. So it was Tafa, Mays, and Nzechukwu. 3 heel hooks in a row. He's got good jiu-jitsu for a heavyweight, and I'm going to see that, Sutherland would probably know that Walker's coming off those wins, but I think he's going to get him. I think Walker's going to get a heel hook submission in round 1. So that's my pick. Ludovit Klein versus Mateusz Rebecki. I'm going to go with Klein to win this fight, probably because of the damage that Rebecki has been taking, which is pretty sad. The Duncan fight, he took a load of damage in that fight, and the oral by fight, and man, that was so back so soon after taking that much damage. It's just, I don't really like it too much for Rebecki, so I'm gonna go with Klein to win this fight. I could see him getting a TKO late in round 2, early in round 3. I think Klein is gonna win this one. I'm not sure if Rebecki can get his takedowns here. Gamrot was taking down Klein, but I mean, Gamrot, who's in the top 10 and lightweight, is a very good division, so I'll say Klein gets this one done by TKO, round 2 or 3. Ikram Aliskerov versus Junyong Park. I'm gonna go with Ikram Aliskerov to win this one. I thought he would have gotten a little bit of a jump up, but Junyong Park is a good opponent and he is tricky, but the way he wins, he's tough. He's tough, he stays in there, and he kind of just overwhelms opponents with takedowns a lot of the time. And against Aliskerov, who defended all of Chimaev's takedowns, I don't really see it working too well. And this should be a stand-up fight. I believe that Ikram will probably... I don't think he's going to finish this fight straight away, but I'm going to say round 2 he can get a TKO. That's what I'm going to say. So Aliskerov by round 2 TKO is what I'm going with. And our featured prelim is Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkilld. I'm going to go with Nasrat Haqparast to win this one. Quillan Salkilld is pretty good, but a little too much too soon, in my opinion. Had a good performance over Inoue. Won that fight pretty clearly in the first 2 rounds, and then was getting pretty tired in round 3. And Nasrat can push a pace. He was fighting with Esteban Ribovics at that pace. 400 strikes in 15 minutes. That's how many Esteban threw. Not sure about Nasrat. Nasrat beat Esteban Ribovics. I thought it could have gone the other way, but I'm not too mad about the decision. He has an argument to win the fight, and he can win that fight. Quillan Salkilld, I don't think he's ready for that pace, and I feel like later on in the fight, Nasrat can kind of break him, and it might get ugly. So I'm going to go with Nasrat to win this one, probably by a 29-28. And Salkilld, he's probably going to have a good round 1. But I don't really see his takedowns working too much, but I feel like he's going to look sharp on the feet early on, but rounds 2 and 3, that's when Nasrat takes over. Now to the main card, we have Aleksandar Rakic versus Azamat Mirzakhanov. Tricky fight to pick. Rakic has been inconsistent, but has been more recently active. Fought Yuri, now he fought Ankalaev. That was a year ago, so he hasn't been the most active, but he's been a little more active than off that injury, that TKO injury lost to Jan Blachowicz. And Azamat Mirzakhanov, he hasn't really been fighting the highest level of competition. Fought Alonzo Menefield, and after that, his last fight was Bernson Ibero, which wasn't... Yeah, that fight was supposed to be Johnny Walker versus Azamat Mirzakhanov, but Bernson Ibero stepped in there. But I'm going to go with Aleksandar Rakic to win this one. I believe that he's going to be a problem with his range, 6'4" to 5'10". It's going to be really hard for Azamat to close the distance, I think. And I feel like he just needs that one knockout punch, but I won't really rely on that, so I'm going to go with Rakic to win this one by decision. More work on the outside. Inside calf kicks will work pretty well. Outside calf kicks as well. I believe the jabs and the right hands, but Rakic, he can't really overextend the way he was overextending against Ankalaev, so he could get caught, but I'm going to say that Rakic probably wins the decision on this one. And we move on to Alexander Volkov and Jailton Almeida. I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov to win this one by TKO. He's an underdog, plus 185. Probably because the matchmakers or the odds makers could think that Almeida would just take Volkov down and maybe submit him early on, but which probably is Almeida's way to win, but do I really see that happening? I feel like he can get Volkov down, to be honest, but full mount, he can look for a TKO, but he doesn't offer much submissions other than a rear naked choke. So will Volkov give up his back? I feel like he's been training not to do that, so. And on the feet, Volkov is going to have a massive advantage. He's way taller, 4 inches of reach, 6'7" to 6'3". And I heard that Volkov is actually more like 6'9". So, yeah, but I'm going to go with Volkov to win this fight. Using that reach of his, popping the jab, the right hand. The kicks are going to work very well, I think. The body kicks. And he could probably throw a high kick up there. I'll say that Volkov gets this one done by TKO round 2. Yeah, I could see it. A teep, straight right hand, something like that. I think he's going to catch Almeida, put him away in round 2. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Batista. This is a pretty interesting one, and I think it's going to be a good matchup. But I'm definitely going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov to win this fight. I'll say by decision. I'll tell you why not submission, or I'll just say that straight away, because Mario is pretty tricky on the feet. He's fast, he's tough, he's pretty powerful, and to be honest, he's more of a threat than Merab in my opinion. So Umar, he's probably going to look to stay on the outside with his kicks a lot and look for takedowns, which I believe he can get his takedowns. I don't believe he's going to be able to take the back very well and establish too much control on Mario Batista, but I'll say he gets some of his takedowns and maybe they end up in scrambles. But Umar, he's probably going to stay on the outside more, look to land his push kicks and his jabs, that straight left of his, and maybe he's going to be question mark kicking Mario Batista. I just see him, I think he's probably going to get this one done by 30-27 decision. Yeah, I'm going to say he puts on a really good performance. I don't know if enough to get a title shot, but I'll go with Umar to win this fight by decision. Now we have our co-main event, Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern 2. This is a rematch. Dern won the first fight, and she is a favorite, minus 155, but I'm going to go with the underdog of Jandiroba here, because I feel like she might be making more improvements and more set on getting the title. So against Yan Xiaonan, which it was her last fight, and she didn't get the fight. She didn't get the submission. It was a decision win, but she was getting really close to some armbar attempts at the end of the rounds. Mackenzie Dern, she's coming off an armbar win over Amanda Hibas, which is pretty impressive. It was a pretty good win, but I'll say Jandiroba, she's able to hang with Dern on the ground. This might be a stand-up fight for for a good bit of time. And maybe Jandaroba gets this one done on the feet. But, Mackenzie Dern, I think she's been looking pretty good, but I'll go with Jandaroba to win this one by decision. It's going to be a close fight, I think. Or it's probably going to be a 48-47 to Jandaroba, but maybe it goes Dern's way. Now, let's move on to the main event. That's what we're all waiting for. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. I got Big Tom on this one. I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall by first round win. I know that's pretty much how all of Tom's fights have been going. First round. And can Cyril Gane drag him to deep waters? Now, the styles, they do match up very nicely because they are very quick, athletic heavyweights, and you don't see that a lot, unfortunately, today, but it might surprise both of them, to be honest, the speed of both of them, so it might be they might be studying each other a bit until about halfway until the round. This might be a long Tom Aspinall fight. By long, I mean maybe halfway into round one. I could see Tom just really, he's going to be studying Gane. He's going to be looking for his 1-2. He's going to be looking for the outside leg kicks or the inside leg kicks. Depends what stance Gane is in. He normally fights southpaw, so inside leg kicks I feel like Tom will be looking for. Gane's probably going to be looking for his teeps and his body kicks. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall to win this fight because just the finishing potential. And Gane, I think he's really going to have to get a good bit of rhythm in this fight, which with Aspinall's speed early on and the power, and you can't really afford to get hit by him. And he's really good at punching people, so I believe that Tom Aspinall will hit the target early on. He can probably catch Cyril Gane not moving his head off the center line. I'll say that 1-2 could probably drop Cyril Gane. Maybe Tom gets on top, reigns ground and pound, gets a TKO. Maybe they end up maybe Aspinall submits Gane. Maybe with a guillotine, like John Jones did. Maybe a Darce. And Tom Aspinall, he's been gone for quite a bit, so I bet he's been making some improvements. But I feel like this is going to be a TKO win. Drops Gane with a 1-2. Kind of stumbly knockdown, and then Aspinall finishes him off with some ground and pound. So that's my prediction for this fight, and yeah, I believe this is going to be and still. So those are my full card predictions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the recap soon. Goodbye.